Hello everybody and welcome to the lighting critique. This is our last critique for the month of August, which means I will be parting ways with you all at the end of this month, and I just want to say thank you again to everyone who had the courage and posted their work and interacted with me. It's honestly one of my favorite things in the world to do, is to work with people on the stuff that they're building and crafting and creating. So I'm just incredibly grateful for all of you, and I'm not on Discord much anymore these days, but if you ever want to reach out to me, always feel free to reach out to me via my email or through LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the best place to reach out to me. I respond to messages there pretty frequently. So yeah, just very excited to see how these projects and how you all continue to grow and develop as artists. So very excited about this. Okay, let's get into it. So we have 3 for today. Just do a little Wheel of Fortune thing here, and we'll start right here. Okay. All right, great. So we got Gentry here. Okay, so this was the notes from the last time were decreasing saturation and on the light and decreasing the intensity. So one of the things I think that we just experienced, which was that light, so it turns out color is a funny thing. And when you decrease saturation, you actually also, by default, you increase intensity or value, basically. You can tell this by any time that because think about the intensity of a light. It's simply a multiplier of the color. And when you're adding more saturation, you're actually reducing, like let's say you have a very red saturated object. You have a high red value, but you have a very low green and blue value. So the intensity is just a multiplier of those values. So the more saturated the light is, actually the higher the intensity is to kind of pump through it. And in this case, since we decreased saturation, we actually increased those RGB values. And even if we decrease the intensity a little bit, it still feels, from the viewer standpoint, more intense. So the value is higher, I think, actually, than we did before. So all that to say is that I think we need to come down a little bit on the exposure of the key light. And just pull that down a little bit. Actually, it might just be exposure back up. It might just be a matter of more of like a gamma correction to make it look like we want. There we go. So something a little bit along these lines. It still feels a little bit bright, but you get the idea. Yeah. So I would just let's try maybe with the levels here, because I think the overall range is good. You see how if I darken it, actually gets more saturated. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this and then pull off the saturation this way. And then this isn't quite right, but kind of this idea of a little bit less, a little bit less overall. And just a little bit less on the key light from the previous version. Okay, and the other thing that I pointed out was that these rocks here, let's just focus right in this region here. These rocks theoretically are in the same environment and interacting with the same type of mud. And these rocks feel very muddy and these rocks feel very clean. And the result is these look more red than this. So I would just tie their materials together to make it feel like they are the literal bedrock of this area. And because, unless there was like an avalanche or something that caused these rocks to fall here recently, they should be tighter in their design. One thing I'm noticing now too is that the mushrooms are floating. I see some floating mushrooms here and here and over here. Just make sure you go ahead and ground those into the scene. And then one thing that's happening over here too is the way, my guess is this is the way the very warm light is interacting with the very cool, the green leaves or the green pine needles, and it's causing them to almost become gray or white. Just look into that and check to see what's going on there, because what could be happening is it could just be a matter of the color, or there could be something wrong with the actual material itself. And then the other thing was I would just delete this branch that's kind of clipping down here. It's just kind of hanging in off the side. I'm cool with this one because it's a little bit, it creates a little bit more of a composition, but this darker line is just a little bit, throws it off a little bit. Other than that, I think it's working pretty good. Bonus points, I think it gets a little dark underneath here, just because water is so reflective, and you just, any amount of sunlight hitting this would just bounce up into these crevices. and you don't get a lot of dark shadows right at the surface of water. So just something there. All right, next up, we got the alley scene. So the first thing I thought when I looked at this, and only because I've worked a lot, the rays look a lot better. But the first thing I thought when I looked at this was more bounce light, right? Because key light, sunlight, and the main key light area on a sunny day isn't just about the key light intensity. It's about that you get a lot more bounce light because you get this super bright light coming down, hitting this warm ground, and bouncing up back into the characters. So I would push more key light. And really what I was saying was because this shirt is pretty saturated red, and like this is getting dark in here and just on the shirt. And so you would really, that would be much more filled in on a bright sunny day like that. And then additionally, watch out for, there appears to be some sort of line down here. It might be a roto thing. It might be light penetrating through the ground and lighting up the bottom part of the bag. It's kind of hard to tell, but just look into that. One thing I really wanted to point out was like, when shots start to come together, you get pockets of really, really beautiful things. Like if you just kind of isolate, like look at the shoes, look at this area down here. There's a few things that are starting to emerge and like, ooh, that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just a matter of kind of like feeding those areas and allowing them to grow a little bit more. A few other little notes. You know, these shadows here on the wall feel a little bit too tight. I would just soften that shadow just a touch more. The reflection in the window is a lovely little touch, but this is like a 1-to-1 reflection. This almost feels as strong as this. And with the windows, there's always a little dirt, there's a little film on it. So there'd be a little bit of blur on this reflection as well as a slight discoloration as well. So I just kind of take that down. I would start there. But yeah, you've made a ton of progress in the time that we've been looking at this, and I think that I'm excited to see where you end up with this. All right, the other fantasy tree. All right, cool. Let's take a look at this one. So I think that the colors look good. I think the value looks good all around it. I think everything's looking quite nice. The only thing I was thinking too with the orbs, and I do like the little bit of variation in there. I think that really, really helps. Is I went through and I kind of isolated those orbs just by using a color selection tool. So I isolated the orbs and I just deleted the kind of the oranginess around the door. And then what I did was I created a duplicate of that layer, because the one thing that I think is that whenever you're getting something that's like really bright, like a light bulb or candle, flashlight, anything like that, is you lose the edge of it and it kind of starts to get washed out. So I really kind of want to push the blur and kind of glowiness around the edge of these. So what I did was I just kind of, I added in a little bit more glow and then just like a little bit more blur around the edges, and you kind of dial these in a little bit. This one probably is too strong. But you really kind of want to, because you just want to like isolate it and push the bright level of it a little bit more, and then continue. Let me just duplicate this layer to create a little bit more blurring around the edge. And yeah, you just kind of want, yeah, so you want to just kind of keep pushing this up. So it's like, you like think about it as like layers of blur. There's like the tight circle in the middle, which you have, and then it's like a little bit of blur, a little bit of blur, a little bit of blur, and it's all kind of stacked and layered together. And the end result is a little bit brighter of a push, which we want to maybe tone that down a little bit over time, because we don't want to distract from the main door. But do you see how like having that nice soft edge really kind of helps make these feel like glowing orbs as opposed to things being stuck on top? So that's kind of what I would do there. And then there's something about a couple of these, the red color on a few of these, particularly like this one, and this one. For some reason, these over here don't. But they almost like, it's almost just because it's very not uniform, but closer uniform in all the colors up in here, that my expectation level is as you go down, you're just going to continue to get these yellow-orange cues. But I start to see these much more like much more isolated red ones, and they kind of get more intense as you go down there. And it might be a different, whatever species of these things or whatever the case may be. But for me, once my eye has kind of established the look of these up in here, I kind of want to continue that down here because my eyes immediately focus in here because this is kind of like the brightest and most contrasty part other than the door itself. And the last thing I'll say about the door is that there's a glowiness to it, which is great. Let's go ahead and take that out. But the only thing is I kind of question the source of it. And so this might be another opportunity to add like a bright point right in the middle because it feels like there's a light source, some sort of lamp or glowing orb or whatever on the door itself. But I'm not seeing that. It just feels like it's brighter there without much of a justification in terms of like an object or a motivation. So I would just throw something in there. All right. That is all for this month, everybody. Again, it's been a pleasure working with all of you. I'm always inspired by the work and the effort and, again, the courage to post this stuff. You all are incredible, and I look forward to seeing you again the next time I come by. So until then, happy lighting, everybody.